So, remember these? Us youth were some of the last people to use these hunks of plastic. When I was thinking for this documentary project, I felt a little pang of nostalgia in the back of my head one day, and then I had a simple question. Do people still use these?
I think I had Teletubbies on VHS. It was like my favorite show to watch when I was like 3.
With VHS, back in Kimberly, I would go to my friend Silver's house, and he had like a whole box full of VHSs, so we'd just be watching VHSs the whole entire time.
So, where does it all begin? Because we gotta look at the past before we can look at the present. At the start, there was nothing. If you wanted to go watch a film for your escapism, you had to go to a theater or a cinema for all my European homies. Sure, popular films would get theatrical reruns, but that's it. The only other alternative was to wait for it to appear on cable TV. But again, if you missed that, you might miss it for all of eternity. Now, you can watch movies whenever you wanted. Think about it. You could watch TV shows in chronological order, which was a pretty foreign concept at the time. So imagine this. You're a hardworking person, and you want to go home and watch a certain movie? You couldn't. You had to channel surf, and we all know channel surfing is very boring. Another thing is your movie-going experience could be completely ruined by some drunken heathen. And this started a war, a hidden war that history forgot about. The video format war. Who would come out on top? The VHS or the Betamax? You would think the Betamax having higher quality would make it win, but that's what's caused its downfall. It could only store 1 hour of footage opposed to the VHS's bulky 2 hours, but with lesser quality. That's what made it win the war in the end. Now, another thing I didn't really mention was that tapes were pretty expensive. I mean, they're around like, what, $120? So why would you want to buy $120 things adjusted for inflation when you could go to a store and borrow it or steal it if you're feeling really risky? But that got me wondering. The industries have not died in the Kootenays in our quirky little area, and I just find that pretty curious.
My name is Danny Leeming, and I am 34 years old.
My name's Jennifer Steinrath, and I'm 53 years old.
I am Miss Lacroix. I am a teacher here at Mount Sentinel, and I am old enough to be a teacher.
Tell us about the time that you worked at a video rental place.
Right? Do you want the date?
VHS was a huge part of my youth. I think I remember receiving Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade when I was very young.
That was at Movie Gallery in Nelson, probably 10 years ago, was that? And they were closing down because they weren't doing so well. They were liquidating, so I was just helping out.
So going to the video store was a pinnacle of my childhood. Yeah.
I don't think I really had a VHS till probably in my 20s.
I grew up in the late 90s, so going to a video store to rent was a very big part of my childhood.
Ritual of going to the store once a week certainly petered off.
Yeah, so West Coast Video was probably my favorite video store, but I loved, and this is bringing back a deep sense of nostalgia. It was a completely red interior decorated, like these velvety red carpets and these red walls and these glowing lights. I think it really was a sensory experience, and just videos would be everywhere, all along all of the walls.
And just walking down the walls of movies, like, it's hard to appreciate how big some places were. Like, we have Rio's Videos in Nelson, but before that there was a place called Video Update that was like thousands of square feet of films, right? Like the physical space it took up to just browse and look and wander through a video store is something that's just gone.
I think though that and maybe this speaks to a different generation, but there was nothing more soul-crushing as a child when you'd go all the way to a video store hoping you would get a particular video or you had something in mind, and it was like all rented out.
Like Final Fantasy VII. When Final Fantasy VII came out, people were renting it back to back to back to back, right? And so you'd call and you'd get it reserved, and like it would be gone for weeks. And it's the same thing with videos. You'd go to the store and they're like, I want to watch whatever, and it was just gone.
And my dad was telling me that, oh, you just wait and see. By the time you're an adult, there will be no more video stores. I was in denial and shock. And I was probably a little bit appalled as well, because I was like, no way, how are we gonna get our videos? My dad is like, there's this thing called the internet.
But people were starting to do it with videos, so you could get MPEGs and AVIs of videos in not so legitimate means.
Well, I didn't grow up in Nelson, so, but I think that there is the one video place.
Hello, I'm Cole Johnston, and I'm the owner and operator of Rio's. Well, first I moved it over to this location. We were still in the old location when I took over. And basically I diversified a little bit. Like we now sell comic books and graphic novels, and we just started getting into vintage gaming. We definitely have our regulars. I mean, it's nice. It's still, you know, I still see a stream of new faces all the time, but there's my regulars that come in almost daily, and it's really nice because you get to know them and you get to know what they're gonna like, and it's almost like being a bartender, because you can know as soon as they come in what you're gonna get them. Like I have customers, regulars who are, you know, teenagers or in their 20s. I have families that come in with their kids every weekend for movies, and then I have a lot of older people who may have not wanted to go the streaming route, and it's just nice that this is an alternative. I think it was really big in the 90s. I think that was the era of the video store. I remember the old owner telling me back in the day they would have to make bank runs 3 times a day because they would be bringing in so much cash that they couldn't keep it on. And I don't know why he told me that, because it's not like that now, but definitely the 90s. The 90s was the era of the video store, but we're still doing really well. And I mean, it's still viable. So yeah, it is sad to see video stores themselves kind of become rarer, because I think there's so much selection here.
In order for these stores to survive, you had to pay a subscription service of around $440. Thank you, Hollywood. But Top Gun, a movie starring Tom Cruise, it marked down the tape to around $26, which is actually what most movies are today. How they made the price so low was that they sticked a Diet Pepsi ad beforehand, so that way the movie company could make up for their losses from theatrical reruns. Because as it turns out, most of the movies got their money from these theatrical reruns, and that's why your DVDs and VHSs have ads before them. So even when VHSs did become profitable, they still kept the ads, because why not stick in more advertising? Capitalism doing its job.
What's amazing about renting is how human it is. It can break, there's limits, sometimes it doesn't even work. It taught me to savor what I have. Having endless content at your fingertips just doesn't cut it. I'm happy to announce that this industry will survive in the Kootenays, which wasn't what I thought originally. It will probably survive for a long time to come. Well, this industry fades everywhere else. Well, I hope you enjoy the rest of the time watching these student films. We all worked really hard on them. Well, goodbye.
Honestly, the microphone kind of looks like a gun. It's threatening. It's called a shotgun. That's imagination. I thought it was called a Hey. I said, hey. I made a really emotional and cool goodbye, and you're gonna continue filming us like this is some sort of whole movie?